Picture yourself going about your daily routine when you suddenly encounter someone who gives you more power than you ever dreamed. Our story starts with Kaneda, a collector, gathering items for his collection. As it begins to rain, his friend Tokyo, who is nearby, calls out for him to leave. Kaneda, however, is mesmerized by a young woman lying unconscious among the debris. Tokyo soon joins him, and they recognize the woman as a Mechs with a unique design they've never seen before. Tokyo warns Kaneda that it's dangerous to leave her there. Just as they consider their options, tripods suddenly appear and start attacking. Tokyo calls for a special suit called the coffin, used by drifters for battle. When the suit arrives, Tokyo quickly puts it on and prepares to fight the tripods. Meanwhile, Kaneda drags the Mechs to safety while Tokyo covers him. Despite Tokyo's efforts, the tripods keep attacking. Kaneda manages to get the Mechs into the carrier and tries to escape while Tokyo defends them. When Tokyo's machine gun runs out of ammo, he uses a more powerful weapon that launches missiles, completely destroying the tripods. They continue their journey and eventually reach home in Blue Schist after a long drive. The next day, Tokyo sells the treasure he found during the adventure with Kaneda. His rival, Michael, gets upset, and Tokyo taunts him about the treasure's size, claiming victory. Tokyo then receives his payment and invites everyone to the bar, covering all expenses. Meanwhile, Kaneda brings the unconscious Mechs to his apartment and tries to examine her. When she accidentally presses a button, her clothes are automatically removed, making Kaneda embarrassed. Two women soon arrive at Kaneda's apartment. One of them, named Nellie, questions why he let Tokyo go off alone, suggesting he won't have any earnings by the time Tokyo returns. Kaneda explains that he has tried stopping Tokyo many times without success. Nellie says the 101st attempt might be successful and invites him to join her team, Adventure. She believes that joining Adventure and working with the Mechs could be beneficial. Nellie asks if Kaneda would like to become a drifter, but he declines, feeling he isn't as skilled as she is. The other woman runs to Kaneda's room and is shocked to see the naked Mechs lying on the bed. Nellie joins her and screams in surprise. Kaneda tries to explain that he didn't do anything and found her in the ruins. The Mechs wakes up and tells Kaneda she will take him to paradise next time, which shocks him. Nellie, who clearly has feelings for Kaneda, decides to leave, and the other woman follows her, saying she should have acted faster. Nellie bursts into tears as they leave. Kaneda then introduces himself to the Mechs. The next day, an announcement is made at the dome saying there won't be any attacks from Enders and drifters can travel safely. An old man and a young boy watch the city from a rooftop. The boy sees a flash of red light and wonders if he imagined it, unaware that a tripod has entered the area. The Mechs meets Kaneda while he is washing and asks questions, revealing her naivety and lack of knowledge. Kaneda tells her he's a collector and dreams of visiting a legendary city called Paradise, which some think is just a myth, but he believes it's real. Kaneda and the Mechs travel in the carrier to meet Maria, a master tinkerer who might know more about the unknown Mechs. As they approach Maria's place, a missile is fired at them, but Kaneda dodges it. The Mechs asks about it, and Kaneda explains that's Maria's way of greeting them. When they arrive, Maria teases Kaneda about the Mechs, making him embarrassed. They discuss the Mechs, and Kaneda mentions that she doesn't know her own name, is not skilled, and is weaker than other Mechs. Maria sends 3 Mechs to scan her, and they find she's in good condition. During their conversation, the Mechs asks what a Mechs is and learns they are candidates for becoming friends of humanity. Suddenly, an alert sounds about Enders attacking Rocktown. The town fights back, but the Enders keep coming. Kaneda springs into action while the Mechs follows him. Rocktown launches machines to fight the Enders, and soon Michael, representing the Avengers, joins the battle, mounting his coffin for support. He wonders why the Weather Bureau missed the attack, and his subordinate suggests someone might have drawn them in from afar, possibly Tokyo and Kaneda. Tokyo arrives and joins the fight. Ellie, from another part of the dome, calls for immediate backup. Michael says they will come once they clear their area, but Ellie insists there isn't enough time. She's under attack by Enders and struggles to fight them off. Kaneda comes to her aid with his carrier, but she tells him to leave, saying he's not a drifter and might only get in the way. Ellie mentions that Michael is already on his way, which makes Kaneda furious. He storms off to his apartment, staring at his inactive coffin. He confides in the Mechs that Ellie doesn't know he took an adventure aptitude test 3 years ago, and was deemed untalented. That's when Tokyo took him under his wing, showing him that real drifters carve their own paths. Summoning his courage, Kaneda mounts the coffin, telling the Mechs to wait as he heads to confront the Enders. While Ellie fights the Enders, a massive and formidable one appears, impervious to her attacks. Kaneda, now in his coffin, arrives and starts firing at the huge ender. He encourages himself, but his attacks are rough and poorly coordinated without any Magus assistance. The powerful ender charges at him, slamming him into a wall. Kaneda doubts his abilities until he sees the Magus running toward him. The Magus asks to join him inside the coffin. Once she enters, her name appears as Noor, and she begins helping him. Tokyo's Magus asks if he won't aid his friend, and Tokyo says he wants Kaneda to prove himself. Guided by Noor, Kaneda dodges the Ender's attacks and lands a powerful blow, killing it. Seeing their leader fall, the remaining Enders try to flee, but other coffins chase them down and eliminate them. Tokyo, proud of Kaneda, realizes Noor is indeed a Type 0 Magus. The next day, Tokyo, Kaneda, and Mugen inspect Kaneda's damaged coffin. Mugen notes that heat friction cracked the joints, and Kaneda's coffin couldn't keep up with Noor's reflexes. Tokyo suggests Noor might be one of those legendary Type 0 Magus, surprising Kaneda. Tokyo also mentions that Kaneda can't continue as a drifter with the old coffin. Kaneda admits he lacks the funds for repairs. Suddenly, Maria arrives with coffin parts and suggests he should search for treasures to obtain what he needs. She advises him to revisit the ruins where he found Noor, as he might discover her old coffin and possibly restore her memory. Kaneda is impressed by this idea. That night they return to the site where Noor was discovered. Maria scans the area and locates Noor's old coffin. They find a large coffin and Kaneda asks Noor if she remembers anything. Noor does not, but they find a code on the coffin, suggesting it's extraordinary. They realize Noor might truly be a Type 0 Magus. Climbing the coffin, they spot the name Pascal. Noor still doesn't recall it. Maria finds an old, damaged camera, which might have recordings from Noor's master. The next day, Noor and Kaneda visit Maria's base. They hear a distant carrier and go to investigate, discovering it belongs to the Nebiola family from Baccarat Nest. To their surprise, they find Wrong Game, the former second in command. Meanwhile, Kaneda and Tokyo return to the nest. Maria tells them that a new Magus has arrived, surprising Kaneda, who wonders why. Maria activates the Magus using her fingerprint, and the Magus starts addressing her as Master. Mutant explains that Maguses bond with their masters this way. Kaneda hands Noor the damaged camera he found, and as Mutant cleans up, Noor asks where to store it. Kaneda tells her to place it on a back room table. While she's moving it, she slips, almost dropping the camera. Mutant catches it, and Noor watches as he tidies up. He explains that every Magus can do similar tasks, surprising Noor. He adds that maybe after Noor regains her memory, she could do it too. Noor stares at the camera as Kaneda debates going home. Tokyo encourages him to join him at the bar to avoid worrying about Noor's memory and her return to her master. Later, Wrong Game's Magus Doles is seen enjoying fresh food at the bar, making others envious. Noticing their reaction, she offers them her food but places it on the floor, calling them underdogs. They feel insulted and attempt to confront her, but Tokyo quickly kicks the food into the air and eats it. Impressed, Doles asks if he knows about Baccarat Nest and offers to introduce him to the circus. Wrong arrives, sees Tokyo and greets him. Tokyo pretends not to recognize him. But Kaneda reveals it's Wrong Game, who was expelled from Rocktown after being humiliated by Michael. Wrong brags about his current importance at Baccarat Nest, but Ellie confronts him. When Wrong insults Kaneda for not being a drifter, Ellie defends him, saying he's excellent, and now has a Magus. Wrong retorts that Noor deserves a better master and tells Kaneda to give up his Magus to find a more suitable one. Michael and Rangat leave quickly. Tokyo starts celebrating Kaneda's new status as a drifter, but Kaneda, feeling unsettled, quietly leaves the bar and goes home. Once there, he begins repairing his damaged coffin with Mutant's help. He tells Noor, who wants to assist, that it's too risky for her to be involved, so she should just wait. After working for a while, Kaneda falls asleep. When he wakes up, Noor is missing. Ellie, feeling guilty for Kaneda's failed aptitude test, is encouraged by her Magus to visit him. They're soon met by Kaneda, who's anxious because he can't find Noor. He suspects she's searching for information about her past and her master. Together, they start looking for her. Meanwhile, Noor wanders the city, seeking someone to repair her camera. She crosses paths with Wrong, who approaches her and offers to help. When he learns she's with Kaneda, he tricks her into his carrier, pretending he knows someone who can fix the camera. A bystander on a rooftop spots them and alerts Kaneda, but Kaneda decides not to follow, feeling unworthy as a master and thinking Noor deserves someone better. Ellie tries to convince him otherwise, but Kaneda reveals Wrong's deceit and his own fears of not being able to help Noor. Ellie keeps encouraging him. Suddenly, Tokyo arrives in his coffin and suggests they rescue Noor. Kaneda agrees. In the carrier, Rong is thrilled with his success in deceiving Noor, anticipating his boss's approval. Noor is with other Megases, including Seal, who sits beside her. Noor shows Seal the camera, asking for repairs. Seal finds the battery low, not damaged, and recharges it using her powers. Noor is impressed and asks if she could learn to do it too. An alarm sounds, signaling imminent danger. Rong realizes Tokyo and Kaneda are approaching and begins launching attacks. Tokyo expertly evades the attacks and targets the other coffins sent against them, while Kaneda heads toward the carrier to save Noor. He lands on the carrier's back, but Rong suits up and challenges him, taunting Kaneda's reliance on Noor. He lands a hit on Kaneda, calling it a waste and demanding Kaneda surrender his coffin in exchange for his life. Kaneda refuses, insisting he built the coffin for Noor and will not leave without her. Noor, hearing this, feels a surge of determination. She exits the carrier to help Kaneda. Rong is shocked to see her and knocks Kaneda's coffin off the moving carrier. Noor quickly jumps after it, gets inside and activates it. Rong continues attacking, but with Noor's help, Kaneda skillfully dodges and counterattacks. He disables Rong's coffin, making it inoperative. Rong's backup coffins are destroyed by Tokyo and Michael. Rong manages to flee with his Magus. Noor shows Kaneda the repaired camera, but it's empty. Kaneda tries to reassure her, saying they will help her recover her memory and find her master. Noor surprises him by saying she didn't fix the camera for her own sake, but because she wanted to be useful to him. She wanted her memory back so she could assist him with everything. Noor stuns Kaneda by positioning her neck for him to make her his Magus. Still shocked, Kaneda removes his glove and touches her neck, activating her as his Magus. Meanwhile, Kaneda finishes fixing his coffin, and Tokyo praises him for finally acting like a true drifter by signing a contract with Noor. It's been 3 years since Kaneda failed the drifter's test, and Tokyo reflects on how Kaneda has grown into a more mature person than before. Tokyo wants Kaneda to become even more confident, so he plans to take him to a place where he can gain more experience. Ellie is on her way to visit Kaneda, having secured a job from her uncle. She hopes Kaneda will join her for the job, which will also serve as a date. On their way, Ellie and Anjat receive a warning about a storm of enders that will hit that night, urging them to stay safe. Upon arriving at Kaneda's place, Ellie is surprised to find only Noor. Before she can ask what's happening, Noor points out a floating message from Tokyo, stating that Tokyo has taken Kaneda to a place called Desire for a game of Boing. Ellie is shocked, not expecting Kaneda to agree to such a place. Noor asks what Boing means, and Ellie reassures her that it's nothing bad, though her jealousy is apparent. Ellie, frustrated, tells Noor and Anjat to get Kaneda's coffin and put it in the carrier. She plans to retrieve Kaneda from Desire by any means necessary. Anjat, still unsure of their destination, asks Sully, who replies that they're still going to do the job her uncle assigned but need to pick up Kaneda first. Meanwhile, Kaneda and Tokyo are nearing Desire, a city of pleasure known for fulfilling any wish, a true paradise. Kaneda feels uncomfortable in Desire, and Tokyo tries to lift his spirits. Kaneda, shaking Tokyo, demands an apology for ruining his dreams. Kaneda is disappointed that Tokyo brought him to such a place. Tokyo begs for forgiveness, saying he wanted to celebrate Kaneda's debut as a drifter and couldn't think of a better place. He assures Kaneda that he'll take him to the best spot in Desire for the first time. Kaneda disagrees, saying his first time should be with someone he loves, but Tokyo argues that it should be with a professional. Seeing Tokyo's seriousness, Kaneda reluctantly agrees. Tokyo takes Kaneda to one of the best shops in Desire, where ladies come out to greet him. Tokyo wanders off in search of another spot, leaving Kaneda with the ladies. The ladies find Kaneda charming as they guide him inside. Tokyo, meanwhile, runs into Mutant, who had been told to wait in the carrier. The mutant starts chasing Tokyo, who is determined to have fun despite his babysitter's interference. Tokyo tries to convince Mutant to stop following him, but Mutant remains steadfast, treating the chase like a game of tag. As Ellie and Anjat travel to Desire, Ellie is still reeling from Kaneda's choice to visit such a place. She apologizes to Noor for dragging her along. Noor wonders why Ellie is so anxious, and Ellie explains that her boyfriend's chastity is at risk. Noor asks how significant the past is to Ellie, and Ellie shares her history with Kaneda, who hasn't changed since they grew up together. Noor feels down as her past is unclear due to her erased memory. Ellie tries to cheer her up and thanks Noor for becoming Kaneda's Magus. Anjat spots someone on the road and stops the carrier. It turns out to be Schnee, another Magus who is out to meet her master. Ellie is concerned about Enders and bandits on the road but is grateful when Schnee accepts their ride. Schnee explains that her master forgot to take her to Desire and shares that her master, known as the Sword, is a man of unshakable resolve, though his rear is vulnerable to attacks. Ellie interrupts, asking Noor for her name, and comments that Noor seems like the goddess her master has been searching for. Back at the shop, Kaneda waits for his turn and meets a masked man, also a first-timer. The masked man tries to reassure Kaneda, advising him to just go with the flow and enjoy paradise. Outside the city, Ellie notices geysers and Enders approaching. She tells Schnee to keep driving to Desire while she and Anjat prepare to fight. Ellie instructs Noor to find Kaneda and alert him to help battle the Enders. Schnee and Noor arrive at the shop and find Kaneda. Noor informs him about the Enders outside, and Kaneda is initially shocked to see her, then more tense to learn Ellie followed him. The masked man is revealed to be Schnee's master, who apologizes for not taking her with him and offers to help with the Enders. Ellie and Anjat team up to fight the Enders, but the task becomes increasingly difficult as more Enders and geysers appear. At one point Ellie is overwhelmed, but Kaneda arrives just in time to save her. Ellie is relieved and grateful, thanking Kaneda for his timely arrival. She tells him they have matters to discuss after the battle, which makes Kaneda nervous, as he knows what's coming. Ellie and Kaneda are battling side by side, with Ellie directing Kaneda to trap the Enders while she takes aim and shoots. The fight becomes more intense as flying geysers, which are much larger than the Enders, join the fray. Kaneda attempts to trap one of these geysers but finds himself ensnared instead. As Kaneda struggles, Ellie rushes in to distract the geyser. Suddenly, a striking snow-white coffin appears out of nowhere. It's clear that the coffin's user is highly skilled, as it swiftly eliminates both the geyser and the Enders. Ellie and Kaneda watch in astonishment as the snow-white coffin effortlessly destroys their enemies. Ellie remarks that this snow-white coffin outperforms the one Tokyo used, though they don't know who controls it. They are left in awe as the snow-white coffin clears the battlefield without a word. Ellie keeps a close watch on the rear of the coffin, noting it as a vulnerable spot. The snow-white coffin finishes off all the Enders and geysers, leaving Ellie and Kaneda speechless with admiration. Later, Ellie explains the job her uncle assigned her. Initially hesitant, Kaneda eventually agrees to join her in the task. Meanwhile, Tokyo and Mutant have been chasing each other around the city. Tokyo, eager to improve, seeks help from Ma-am, who initially thinks he's after another fantastical adventure. Tokyo clarifies that he wants to work and practice, asking for any advice to become stronger. Amused and surprised, Ma-am agrees to help him. Next, Kaneda heads to Toddler Gorge, known for its numerous ends that don't align with the local weather patterns. Tokyo suggests that the location is perfect for digging up treasures while gaining combat experience, given the marsh's high level of Ender activity. Kaneda expresses his desire to hone his skills independently rather than relying on others. Tokyo encourages him but makes it clear he's just passing the time and won't interfere. Kaneda instructs Noor to handle minimal navigation duties and expresses his wish to rely on her only as needed. Just then, Mutant alerts them to an opportunity for swift training as Enders approaches rapidly. Kaneda and Noor quickly board the coffin, and Noor informs him about the approaching Enders. Kaneda starts attacking, but the Enders deftly dodge and strike his coffin from various angles, causing him to lose his balance. Noor warns Kaneda that two Enders are heading towards the carrier, causing him to panic. He calls for Tokyo, who had promised not to interfere, but Tokyo hesitates. Kaneda loses his composure, missing his shots at the end. Noor offers to adjust the sights, but Kaneda refuses and continues to fire in frustration. Seeing his distress, Tokyo decides to step in. Before he can act, they see the Enders being taken down one by one and realize that a coffin on a nearby mountain is responsible. Kaneda witnesses a spirit-like figure emerging from the coffin and unleashing a fiery storm on the Enders, destroying them all. Kaneda is stunned by this powerful display. Mutant explains that this is a mega skill, and Tokyo adds that it's a technique unique to a Type 0. The mysterious coffin descends the mountain, and Kaneda rushes to meet it, expressing gratitude to the user. A beautiful woman emerges from the coffin, extending her hand as if for a handshake, but then grabs Kaneda in a chokehold, criticizing his recklessness as a drifter. Tokyo interjects, explaining that Kaneda is a novice, and suggesting the woman could be his mentor. The woman, Claudia, agrees to teach Kaneda, and Tokyo playfully mentions that Kaneda might enjoy it, hinting at past adventures. Claudia introduces herself and her partner Flam. She explains that, as veterans, they assist others in need, following the Drifter's code. Claudia then seductively asks Kaneda if he wants to get rich quickly. Tokyo jokes about taking the bait if it's a trap, but Claudia reminds him that he had promised not to get involved. She asks Kaneda for his thoughts on her offer. Skeptical, Kaneda questions why a talented Type 0 would seek help from him. Claudia assures him he'll understand once they arrive. She leads them to a site filled with daisies, where a large treasure outshines the flowers. Claudia mentions that while she's found the treasure, she can't mine it due to the surrounding enders. Mutant explains that the large AO crystal will attract many enders. Tokyo suggests blowing up the area, but Claudia prefers to keep the location intact for Flam's sake. Kaneda is touched by this and approaches Noor, who is admiring the flowers. Noor expresses her uncertainty but mentions she likes the flowers' beauty. Kaneda agrees to Claudia's deal, and they start planning their actions while eating together. Claudia explains that they will work through the night, with enders attacking in about 10 minutes after the AO wave insulation is turned off. She outlines the plan: one person will defend the main area while the other mines the treasure. However, there's another access point that remains unguarded. Tokyo volunteers to handle this additional access point, while Claudia will focus on the main defense, though she's concerned about her ammo. Kaneda, eager for training, offers to be the main defender, leaving Claudia to manage the mining process. A short while later, Flam shares with Noor some intriguing details about her master's coffin. She describes Kaneda's coffin as an ogre renowned for its formidable horns and fearsome reputation. Noor finds this description amusing and repeats the word, savoring its dramatic flair. Flam then shifts the conversation to the flowers before rushing off. Noor is suddenly struck by a vision of an elderly woman, promising her protection from Kaneda and the ogre. Flam, puzzled by Noor's cryptic remarks, wonders who she might be talking to. Claudia meets with Kaneda to assist with his coffin's maintenance. She's impressed by how swiftly he fixes it, and flirtatiously offers him a reward, which leaves Kaneda blushing. When Claudia inquires if Kaneda also does maintenance for Noor, he admits he hasn't started yet. Kaneda is taken aback to learn that Noor, like Flam, is a Type 0 Magus. Claudia advises him to safeguard Noor diligently, as many are eager to capture a Type 0 Magus. As Kaneda reflects on his drifter skills versus his mechanical prowess, Claudia encourages him to pursue his dream of exploring legendary history. Claudia's encouragement is met with surprise and amusement, as she urges him to fight freely and embrace his role as a drifter. At night, while Kaneda is on guard duty during the mining operation, he faces a tough battle with 8 enders. With Noor's help, he manages to eliminate them using explosives. However, 2 ends remain. One makes its way toward the mining area, while the other engages Kaneda to prevent him from giving chase. Tokyo intervenes with precise skill, eliminating the 2 remaining enders before Kaneda can catch up. Upon returning to Claudia, Kaneda discovers she is missing and the treasure has vanished. He realizes he has been duped. Claudia later apologizes, explaining she needed the funds for Flam's maintenance. Flam thanks them for protecting the daisies, affectionately calling Kaneda's coffin Daisy, which Noor finds amusing. The next morning, as Kaneda processes the previous night's events, Tokyo reassures him that such deception is typical in the drifter world, suggesting it's an expensive lesson learned. Despite the setback, Kaneda is excited about their new discovery. Noor reveals their coffin's new name, Daisy Over. In a separate scene, a mysterious drifter is seen fleeing from enemies. His coffin is damaged, causing him to crash to the ground. Villainous coffins approach the wrecked coffin, open it, and steal the Magus, leaving the drifter behind in agony. Meanwhile, Kaneda and Noor are in Rocktown, shopping for supplies. They encounter men who tease Kaneda about the hot lady from his previous mission. Embarrassed, Kaneda realizes that Tokyo has exaggerated the story. He's further shocked to find the AO crystal from Toddler Gorge being sold. He discovers that Claudia has come to sell it. After the sale, Kaneda meets Claudia and Flam. Claudia asks if he's still upset, but Kaneda says he has moved on. Claudia then proposes discussing his dreams over a meal, which he declines. She offers advice on becoming a better drifter, but he refuses, wary of her intentions. Claudia entices Kaneda with the prospect of learning how to be a better partner. She explains that Magus and drifters form a deep connection through body and heart, making Kaneda blush. She suggests they visit Fez, a maze where they can solidify their bond if they navigate it successfully. Claudia promises that if they choose their path wisely and make it out safely, they can stay together forever. Kaneda finds Claudia's proposal absurd and dismisses it. Noor then asks if he's going to Fez. When he declines, she questions if he doesn't want to deepen their connection. Kaneda stammers, explaining his previous comments didn't mean what she thought. Noor moves closer, urging him to be one with her. Desperate to escape, Canada suggests that acting like a married couple and living together for years could create a bond. Noor takes this seriously and declares that they are now married. In the following scene, Noor begins imitating Canada's every action, much to Tokyo's amusement. Noor even attempts to follow him into the bathroom. At bedtime, Canada tries to sleep, but Noor insists on joining him, claiming it's to become a great partner. When Noor climbs onto the hammock to sleep with him, they both end up falling to the ground when the hammock breaks. They fall asleep in a heap. The next morning, Ellie arrives with her Mechs and finds Canada and Noor sleeping together. She becomes jealous, and Noor, waking up, announces their marriage. Ellie's jealousy intensifies, and she suspects something happened between them. Noor realizes that Ellie also wants to bond with Canada and tells him, making Ellie feel embarrassed. Meanwhile, Tokyo plans a night out but is informed by Mutant about numerous attacks on Type 0 Mechs. This makes Canada reflect on his desire to grow stronger. Noor suggests they tackle the maze in phases to improve their skills. Claudia, sensing a chance to grow stronger, suggests to Canada that they should head to Fez together. After pondering this, Canada and Noor set out for Fez, their excitement palpable. Meanwhile, Claudia watches from a distance and contacts an unknown caller, informing them that Canada and Noor have taken the bait and are heading to Fez as she intended. Tokyo and Mutant receive an alert about their destinations. Mutant deduces that Claudia must have lured them there. Ellie, overhearing the news about Canada and Noor's journey to Fez, feels a pang of sadness. Her Mechs reveals that Fez is known for its romantic significance, as it is said that love blossoms for couples who successfully navigate its maze. Intrigued, Tokyo decides to investigate, suggesting they head to Fez, and asking Ellie to invite Michael along. At Fez, Canada and Noor explore the maze in their coffins, only to be ambushed by an enemy coffin. Canada is stunned and puzzled as to why they are being targeted. He tries to evade the attacks, but is soon intercepted by another coffin. He narrowly escapes, only to find himself surrounded as additional flying coffins descend, dropping off more attackers. Canada's confusion deepens as he realizes their true target, Noor. The enemy coffins attempt to breach Noor's compartment, just as they had done to a previous drifter. It dawns on Canada that Noor is their primary objective. As the coffins close in, Tokyo arrives, fighting off the villainous coffins and rescuing Canada. Shocked, Canada discovers that Ellie and Michael have also arrived. Ellie, perplexed, asks why Canada is in such a perilous place, but Michael interrupts, suggesting they should question the mysterious figure watching from a distance. Canada is astounded to learn that Claudia is behind the setup. Claudia attempts to flee, but Canada is hot on her trail. Tokyo advises Canada to ensure Claudia faces consequences. Claudia runs desperately, but Canada is relentless. After a tense chase, Canada ensnares her with a chain, pulling her in to confront her. Claudia, cornered, admits that her client sought a specific Type 0 Mechs, leading her to set up Canada and Noor. She explains that her client is wealthy and that she collaborated with them to fund Flam's maintenance. When Canada presses for the client's identity, Claudia reveals that she doesn't know who they are, only that they have deep pockets. She activated an illusion, attacking Canada with a flurry of strikes, demonstrating what it means for a drifter to be in perfect harmony with their Mechs. Struggling to pinpoint Claudia's real form amidst the illusions, Canada recalls a flaw in the base of her coffin's rifle. He devises a plan with Noor, waiting for the right moment. Noor manages to steady the aim and Canada takes a decisive shot, inflicting critical damage on Claudia's coffin. Defeated, Claudia praises Canada's skill and accepts his offer to connect her with someone who can repair her Type 0 Mechs at a more affordable rate. Meanwhile, Canada's friends continue their battle with the villainous coffins, nearly eradicating them all, though some manage to escape. Claudia and Flam also depart, with Claudia contemplating a future encounter with Canada and Noor. Upon returning, Canada finds Ellie waiting, who asks him out on a date to celebrate the festival. Canada, however, declines, explaining that the maze has been destroyed in the chaos. Ellie's disappointment is evident. As the dust settles, one question lingers: could the trials and tribulations faced by Canada and Noor forge a deeper bond between them, potentially leading to love as they strive to become one? If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. See you next time.